Good afternoon, everyone. It's a great pleasure for me to be here with you today to discuss a topic of paramount importance in our increasingly connected world, IoT cybersecurity. The IoT has transformed the way we live and work. It has brought convenience, efficiency, and innovation to the daily lives of citizens and to the operations of businesses. This scenario presents enormous opportunities for growth and progress, but it also exposes to new and evolving threats. These threats include privacy violations, data breaches, as well as the potential for malicious actors to take control over our critical systems. The need for a robust IoT ecosystem has never been more pressing. We are all familiar with the headlines that highlight the consequences of neglecting IoT cybersecurity. And IoT cybersecurity is not a problem that should be solved by any single entity or technology. It requires collaborative efforts from governments, corporates, researchers, and individuals alike. And these panel discussions bring together experts from different fields and backgrounds to share their insights, experiences, and best practices in this field. And I would like to start this panel discussion by asking our panelists here to briefly introduce themselves and provide an opening statement about this important topic. So maybe we can go by order. Egons, please.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Egons Bušs. I'm head of security department at Latvia's Mobilized Telephones LMT. We have 3 divisions taking care of physical information and cybersecurity, and cybersecurity division is by far the largest by amount of headcount we have here. I think one of the topics we should mention today that the pressure on time to market for commercial sector, it exacerbates the already existing problem of we want to achieve everything fast, we need to be, well, right on time, and then we do not have enough time to think, to evaluate, and then what we have at the end of the day, we have cheaper markets in Europe than very advanced Nordics and Baltics that could produce some devices and systems faster than sometimes we do, pressure to deliver it fast, so therefore we do not really have the time and or legal enforcement to do everything in all industries properly. The regulated industries, they are doing slightly better, but I think it's one of the topics that regulatory could help. On the other hand, of course, we always need to be careful because it's so easy to over-regulate and make it over-complicated, and then maybe a life cycle of a device which should be this amount, it would be like forever and too late, too slow.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Egons. Edgars, please.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. I am the director of the Cybersecurity Policy Department at the Ministry of Defense of Latvia. So our main responsibility is the development of cybersecurity policy. So we are the main body in Latvia who is working on all the legislation that is related to cybersecurity. About today's topic, I would like to just underline a few points. So first thing, not only a regulation is that matters, it's also the awareness of the risks. So this is a two-way street, I would say. It's one side what is written on a paper about the rules and regulations that we have to obey, and the other part is what we can do on our individual level as individual persons, as citizens, as employees. And of course, the task for the national authorities, like the Ministry of Defense, is to make viable and realistic regulation. As I think Egons has also underlined, that it's very easy to over-regulate something, and just to make sure that you have the right balance there, so that you have the rules, but those can be also realistically implemented. And then, as I said as well, so the education of the individuals, the understanding that every device, every product that you connect to the internet is a potential security risk. That every individual has to understand that, And the last part is that taking into account the risks, we should, however, not deter from technological development. Throughout the history, every new technology that has appeared has been perceived with some degree of fear and suspicion. But the right way probably is to find the balance between technological development, security, and also ethics. So I'll stop here for the beginning.
Yeah, thank you, Edgars. I think we'll discuss all these points in detail later on. Didzis, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Didzis Ozoliņš. I'm a systems engineer working for Palo Networks. Palo Networks is a leading threat research and cybersecurity vendor. Well, IoT security, it's really tricky. Many organizations rely on IoT to power and run their businesses, yet you cannot really apply the same measures, the same security tools which you are applying to secure your workstations and your server infrastructure. So one of the reasons, or the most important reason, is that IoT devices in most cases are like closed appliances, meaning that you cannot really install any endpoint security agents or any custom software on them. So to secure IoT devices in like reactive security, all you have left is to inspect the network traffic those devices participate in and to segment them. So not a lot options, right? Also, according to our research, most of the IoT devices runs on top of unsupported operating systems and unsupported or outdated software in general. What does it mean, unsupported? It means that vendors are not releasing security fixes and software updates, which in turn means that over time your IoT devices are more and more vulnerable. And bad guys obviously know that, and from that perspective, IoT devices are like a low-hanging fruit. And what we have seen is that, in most cases, IoT devices are just like a stepping stone to get a footprint inside your organization. So then it's possible to move horizontally, discover new information systems, and target them. So IoT security really cannot be neglected. I'm really glad that we are having this discussion today. We have to talk about that. And in the end, it's like the printer in your office, in your hallway, may not be as innocent as you would think it is, actually. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Didzis. Dmitrijs, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. Dmitrijs Ņikitins, Chief Technology Officer at company Tet. We provide various technology, telecommunication, and security services to our customers, both B2B and residential. As for today's topic, so that's not the new topic. It's being buzzed around for some time. And in the last couple of years, we've seen that we've recorded record DDoS numbers in the world, and those DDoS attacks were conducted by video cameras and other IoT devices. And the importance of the IT security grows with every day. We now see that majority of the manufacturer industrial equipment is automated, and the old SCADA's manufacturing systems are being replaced by new shiny connected IoT network devices. But at the same time, we see that the security flows in both systems are pretty similar, and the IoT devices are bringing some new concerns because the overall landscape of the security is much broader. You had SCADA, which was like closed loop systems, and now you have the open network systems, which have to be protected. The second thing which is growing right now pretty rapidly is the digital twins concept. We have digital twins for the factories, for example, where you can read the data in real time, simulate different situations, and make adjustments. The next big thing which is being developed is the digital twin for the cities. That's a lot of critical data flowing around. And I guess we do not want this data to get into the wrong hands, especially considering that nowadays we have the hybrid war going around the world. And this kind of data can help the malicious actors or even our enemies to take some decisive actions. So I guess in these situations we have to understand what we can do better and double down on our investments in cybersecurity in that field.
Okay, thank you for these opening highlights. Let's start off an open discussion then by setting a little bit the scene on the relevance of IoT security in our connected world. So I will make a first question to Didzis. What are the most significant security risks and challenges when it comes to IoT devices and networks? And second, can you share some, let's say, real-life examples of IoT security problems that you may have faced in the past that can, let's say, illustrate the importance of this topic?
Yeah, I will speak about the risks first, so I will try to segment them. Well, first of all, how many organizations actually do know how many devices are currently connected, right, to their network? The next thing is that even less organizations know which of those connected devices are actually legitimate, right? So lack of visibility, in my opinion, is one of the base or foundational risks in IoT, and actually in IT in general. The next thing is that, as I mentioned in my opening statements, that in reactive security you have to rely on network security tools like firewalls, for example, to protect IoT devices. And the thing is that more and more traffic gets encrypted nowadays. So you have to decrypt to be able to inspect and to see what's going on. But the thing is that not everything can be decrypted on a firewall for technical reasons. So there are some challenges also from the network security point of view, because it's possible that you don't even see everything you need to see. I also mentioned about those vulnerable software and unsupported software. The thing is that I would definitely suggest when organizations are about to procure new IoT devices, it's essential that organizations actually request from the IoT vendors that the devices they are about to procure or buy, that they will be supported and will receive software updates for as many years as they need, like at least 5, I suppose, right? And last but not least, supply chain attacks. What does it mean? It means that if somebody would want to target your organization, they don't have to attack you directly or target you directly. They can target your partners, your vendors, which you are using to run your business. They will compromise your partner. You will download and install legitimate software updates. Usually, those updates are digitally signed by the vendor, so security tools use to trust those updates, and basically in that way you get infected. And luckily, unfortunately for us, supply chain attacks are a big thing, not only in IoT, but in general. Mm-hmm. And there are a couple of ways how to try to protect yourself. One of the ways is to basically you have to know how your IoT device is behaving during normal operations, like its baseline. And when you know how the IoT device operates, you know if there is a drift in how it behaves. In that way, you can try to catch some really sophisticated supply chain attacks. And about some concrete examples, well, those examples are like a lot of them, because, the world is powered by IoT nowadays. So like planes, railways, data centers, even hospitals, you know, and I wouldn't want to be in a position when I need to have a medical treatment and this device I need is out of order because of some kind of misunfortunate event, you know, so.
Yeah, thank you, Didzis. So yeah, linking to your last point, no, I mean, as we all know, there's a big ongoing debate around the challenges of bringing foreign companies, not EU companies, into the IoT value chain in Europe. So I have a question for Egons. What are the risks associated with these third-party integrations and dependencies in the IoT ecosystem in Europe? And how can they be mitigated somehow?
One of the risks is dependency confusion, which comes very close hand in hand with supply chain attacks. Almost no software codes these days for IoT devices are written from scratch, like really starting and writing a code. It's reusing existing operating systems, libraries, other things, which leads to a situation that either, well, two extremes. One, nobody cares. They just install, plug, and hope everything is fine, which is probably not an option really these days. The other is if you do a careful inspection of each and every component of your IoT ecosystems, that actually takes quite an effort. And this brings to a situation that on one hand we have nice upcoming regulations, NIS2 is ready, national regulation will be in place relatively soon, but we do not have real measures at the moment other than bilateral cooperation on how to check if the whole supply chain of a device or device ecosystem of IoT devices is secure enough. And for example, a very practical example, if my team checks something and they found that there's something vulnerable, some old library, something bad in a particular product, they would make a nice report. We would suggest or do not suggest to business use it or how to use it or how to secure. And then we show it to nobody. And I'm afraid that that's a common problem in an industry that we do work in our own silos, like organizations, like suppliers to businesses, and never tell anyone, or almost never, what we have done. So I think that would be a great area of cooperation within, particularly within the region. The Baltic Nordic region is very advanced, and we could do a lot more in cooperation, therefore saving resources in our cyber and other departments in order to be able to do more business and more beneficial business for everybody.
Yeah. Thank you, Egons. Although we'll talk about regulation in a moment, at present, the reality is that governments and policymakers are conscious of the importance of not over-regulating the IoT market through, strict cybersecurity measures and controls. So I have a question for Dmitrijs. What can be done to balance the need for security with the demand for user-friendliness and convenience, in IoT devices for both citizens and enterprises?
Well, the usual user is, to be honest, quite lazy. I'm lazy, the rest of us are quite lazy. And we are not willing to deal with the complex configuration tasks. And for example, in an implementation of our products, the security of our solutions and of our customer solutions is not the thing we are willing to sacrifice, because you can understand if we are delivering the solution to the customer and it's being somehow compromised, the customer loses data, then it's a disaster for us and for the customer. And in our modern age, you can test out how fast the device with the root access can be hacked. You can place the device in the open internet and you will see that in the first couple of minutes it will get like 100 hits and scans from the other malicious actors. Here you have to balance between the automation and UX design. So basically it takes a lot of load on your designer teams to understand which is the best approach for the customers, how you can implement the interfaces for the customers. It takes a lot of UX tests to see what will be the best scenario for the customers. On the other side, as the service providers and vendors, we have to look for automations. We have to automate everything what we can and not burden customer with that. So all the patches, all the security flows should be fixed remotely by us. The device should come with the security by design principle out of the box. We shouldn't let customer install the device with the username and password admin in the internet. So it's up to us service providers and vendors how we can protect the environment. Of course, in the same time, we have to educate the users as well.
Thank you, Dmitrijs. You touched very important points that we will discuss later. Now that we are aware of the main risks and threats from a practical point of view, let's discuss about policy and regulation. So, Edgars, please. What is currently being done, to address these IoT security concerns from a policy/regulatory point of view? And how is the EU policy and regulatory framework functioning, and how is this, let's say, transposed into national legislation?
Yeah, well, the EU is still working on that. So the main document, the main regulation in this area, I would name the Cyber Resilience Act, which is a proposal by the European Commission and is still being discussed between the Commission, Parliament, and the Council. And I'm not sure how familiar you are with the EU legislative process, and I'm just going to say it's not fast and it's not easy. So it will take some time, but in any case, this act should come into force 3 years after its approval. So if I would have to bet, I would say end of 2027. But what is it about? It's basically about setting minimum security requirement for connected devices. And also the act will make the manufacturers responsible for ensuring that their products are digitally secure, while also then enabling customers to have greater information regarding the security of devices. How to achieve this greater awareness of the security of devices? The idea is to have these products marked with CE marking. So basically indicating they comply with the new standards that will be written in the Cyber Resilience Act. So the obligations of that act will depend on the criticality of the product and software, starting from critical and then later divided into classes. How we are planning to implement it nationally, that is still being discussed, because of course we still have time, but always these deadlines, they come somehow suddenly really fast. And of course what we will have to do is to create a model how we both manage the compliance control, but also certification, national cybersecurity certification. That will of course take some time. We have started discussions with different ministries, not only Ministry of Defense, of course, it's also other institutions involved, but basically it will be also connected with the EU certification schemes that also have to be approved. So this will all come together with a package of documents that we'll have to implement. But the main thing I think for the end users is that they will have a marking that will just state that this is digitally secure product. So I think that should at least somehow address these security risks that we are identifying now.
Thank you, Edgars. Well, as we highlighted at the beginning and you underline now, collaboration among different stakeholders is crucial to ensure a secure IoT ecosystem. So, Egons, how can public policy encourage collaboration between industry and stakeholders, researchers, governments, and so on, to improve the posture of the IoT market from a security point of view?
I think it's already happening. Of course, we as a commercial sector would like to happen in a faster pace, but we realize that it's mostly not because somebody's here slow, but it's a whole European process. Briefly, Edgars touched upon. I think the marking of devices is very nice. On the other hand, if we go a step further, it's not just the device, and that itself, the device doesn't produce any harm or do not hack anyone or cannot be easily taken over. I think that maybe even some interim security, minimal security requirements for the ecosystem as such, not just the individual devices, because you take a secure device, change your secure password to admin, as Dmitrijs mentioned before, and where are you? Or if it's open to the internet, even it was designed securely, but you managed to reconfigure somebody in a maintenance process. Say small, medium businesses really struggle to attract talents. They are expensive. We almost have no unemployment in IT and cyber field at all in the region. Therefore, they're trying, how do we get business done? So I think the minimal, coming back to the point, minimal security and rather technical requirements would be great. Of course, we are also a great relationship both with regulatory, with ministries, with Cer.lv and other institutions taking care of. But what I would suggest and really hope for, that we do not wait until 2027 and then suddenly something magical happens. We need to continue our existing cooperation. We need to go deeper, and starting from policy point, which I think works reasonably well, and we do cooperate, down to technical settings and interconnections and banning rogue networks, etc. So practical steps so we can achieve more secure place, not in 2027, but like today, tomorrow, and day after tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you, Egons. Very, very interesting points. Now, with the support of Didzis, I would like to deep dive into more practical issues and the role of IoT providers. So, what steps are organizations can really take in to ensure the security of the IoT deployments, from the design and development to the actual maintenance of these devices?
Really good question, but before I jump into it, I would like to comment on what Edgars said about digitally secured device. I think the idea is perfect, and it perfectly aligns with that we have to demand more from IoT vendors. The thing is, and it connects with it connects with operations. One thing is that you deliver a digitally secured device, but then you have to maintain the state, and this really affects like companies or organizations like day-to-day tasks, operations, because somebody within an organization suddenly have a lot more to do to take care of IoT devices, right? So operations is a big challenge. If you take into consideration that in many organizations there is like IoT security is basically non-existent, and if you want to start to do something from the scratch, it is a big leap right forward. About practical things, what I have seen from my own experience, that basically you could split all the customers in two groups. There is one group which doesn't realize yet how important IoT security actually is. And again, this is why I think the idea to have this conversation today is excellent. The other group who understands the risks, they are actively working on that, but of course it's easier said than done, and sometimes you need to take baby steps. So first of all, as I mentioned, is to gain visibility, and this is where organizations usually begin. They want to have like full asset inventory. They want to understand what kind of assets there are in their network. Then they want to understand which ones of those are legitimate. And in IoT, blacklisting approach doesn't work where you deny for something, right? Only whitelisting approach works. So you have to know where those devices need to connect, and then you design and implement whitelisting security policies, right? This is one thing. Another thing, another thing was, let me quickly remember. So operations, deployment, segmentation, sorry for that. So as I mentioned, that network security is a thing which can actually protect your devices, and to achieve that, really useful thing to have is micro-segmentation, because usually IoT devices are kind of like, all of them are plugged in one single flat network. And of course, those devices, they can actually talk technically with each other without going via firewall or your enforcement point. Right? So this is also what organizations are doing straight after visibility. They try to segment their network, basically to minimize the risk. If something is breached, if something is not secured, still the impact will be minimal. And only then organizations start to think about baselining their IoT devices to understand what is the default behavior and start to catch those sophisticated cyber attacks like via supply chain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you, Didzis. So having discussed the role of IoT providers, we cannot forget obviously the role of IoT end users, no? Be citizens or enterprises. So you raised the point before about secure by design principles. So coming back to you, Dmitrijs, why are secure by design principles so important, and how are IoT device manufacturers implementing this in their products?
Well, considering the complexity of IoT networks and IoT systems, the vendors, to ensure the security of those systems, the vendors have to start thinking about the security right in the design process of the systems and of the devices. And there are a lot of things to think about. So if we are talking about the device, there is in trivial, there is the hardware level, there is the software level, there is the network level, and there is the cloud, and which repeats all the mentioned before. So it's, you have to ensure the security of all those elements. And during the design, you have to understand what will be the encryption of the data stored within the device, how will be authentication ensured, how will be ensured the encryption of the data transfer if someone tries to tamper with the network connections as well. And you have to understand that the security should be multi-dimensional, so you won't lose the control and all the data, the control of the device and all the data at once if the device gets compromised. So you have to divide those by levels. So first level is compromised, but the data stays still safe. Unfortunately, this kind of effort costs a lot of money. So to design this, you have to put enormous effort, you have to put a lot of hours into R&D process, and at the end, you have quite expensive device. What we see so far on the market, that the people are, in majority, are looking for the best price for a device which fits for purpose. And we see that there are a lot of different cheap devices which satisfy your needs. Basically, they are doing what you want, but at the same time, the security level of those devices is so low that the student with the manual which he has downloaded from the internet can crack it in like a couple of minutes. So basically, the security is non-existent. Those devices do not receive the updates, and their operational system is becoming outdated. And that's the problem. We do not have the regulation in place. We heard that there is ongoing work on the Cyber Resilience Act, which might help in this dimension, because it will force the manufacturers to take care of devices, to update those devices, to follow on the critical incidents as well. But at the moment, we as users, both enterprises and the customers, have to be a bit more educated on our own security and not to buy the cheapest product on the market. And I guess that's here I see the role of both of the government and the enterprises to educate the society and to point out the risks which should be evaluated in the process, and choose the equipment which has been created taking in mind security by design principles.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Dmitrijs. Following up on this point with Edgars, how can we encourage the education and the awareness from an end user perspective for maintaining a secure IoT ecosystem?
Yeah, well, I think that the main point here is that the IoT security is not only in the hands of cyber experts. It's the end users that are part of it. So I think until we don't have the understanding that it's really dangerous to connect your, let's say, phone to the work computer, then until everybody understands that, I don't think that we can really talk about IoT security as a whole. But we have to ensure that people are really educated about this. I think it was Finland where there was a great example of a social campaign where cybersecurity is not like an option, but is like an obligation, like a citizen's obligation to ensure that you are acting responsibly in the cyber sphere. Nationally, our approach here is that we have also defined in the National Cybersecurity Strategy is that we want to target all the societal groups, starting from youth until senior citizens, because of course we see that in different age groups there are different challenges and different risks. Social campaigns, and I think here it's really important that we coordinate with both the state institutions but also private sector, because there are many state institutions that are communicating about cybersecurity. It is not only MOD or CERT-LV, it's also state police, for example, when it comes to cybercrime. Just bringing everyone together and understanding how we can make these communication activities more targeted, targeted to the specific societal or age group. And finally, I think the final point would be about strengthening the cyber hygiene in government. That is another project that we have right now, and that is about having unified guidelines for all the public sector for cyber hygiene, so that all the public sector has the same rules, the same guidelines, and it's basically, so no one has the option to create their own rules that might be softer than the general policy.
Yeah, thank you, Edgars. I would like to ask all our panelists to give a 30-second view on the perspectives of the security of the IoT market, and if there's any recommendations to be made to policymakers, individuals, in general, to the stakeholders of this market, to cope with this evolving market. Maybe we can start with Egons.
Okay, yeah. One of the things we are doing already, we are bringing manufacturing back to Europe. For example, we are creating devices and routers and other things and testing them like 5G. Secure device made entirely in European Union. Well, for example, in our case, in Latvia, together with our Latvian partners. So we bring chip manufacturing back. We can apply secure by design principles, and then we can more focus on development of the product itself. Don't be blinded by initial lower cost of implementation, but looking at the total cost of ownership during the life cycle, and therefore bringing more value to both sides, B2B and B2C. And that, I think, is very perspective compared to educate each and every elderly people on which origin devices not to buy, rather provide them made in Latvia, made in European Union devices which are secure by design and safe to use.
Thank you, Egons. Edgars, please.
Well, two things I would like to underline. One is the necessity to have a working relationship between the government and industry, and I think that's very important in order to ensure that we do not overregulate. And if we do, then so that you know that you can come to us and tell us, hey, this will not work. This is crazy, and please don't do this. So we try to never overregulate, but of course there will be mistakes always, and that's why we just want to have this dialogue always open with the industry. And the other thing is more about I think about the educating your employees, talking with your colleagues, talk with your friends and family about the risks, because, you know, I think most of the people here in this room might be quite educated, and that's why I think it is also our responsibility to not only talk with our colleagues and professional sphere, but also to talk privately about the risks, so that we make sure that everyone is secure.
Thank you, Edgars. Didzis, please.
Yeah, obviously, it's secure by design, and we have to request that from IoT vendors. And the other thing also from IoT vendors is for IoT devices to actually be easily manageable. And it would be great if like IoT devices would have an API by default, so actually customers could integrate those IoT devices within their existing security automation workflows. That would, you know, take a lot of extra work away from people, from technical people, and in the long run will definitely yield some positive results.
Thank you, Didzis. Dmitrijs, please.
So regarding how the regulation can help, regulation might help, but it won't be a universal answer to those problems, because as we've heard, the changes in the regulation are taking some time, but the technology space is developing pretty rapidly. So we need to understand what would be the key measures, how we can react on the large-scale vulnerabilities within our networks within the EU infrastructure, and those should be coordinated. And the second one, all the, of course, vendors and service providers should take responsibility for securing our society, both enterprises and private customers, residential customers. We have to create the services and the products which are developed with the security by design in mind. We have to educate people how to install those IoT networks, and we have to provide the services for them to be able to install them securely. So that's up to us to take care of that as well.
Thank you, Dmitrijs. Maybe, Artis, we can check out if we have any questions from the audience.
I have one quick question from the audience. Do we have a quick question? Yes, in front. Quick question, quick answer. Can we get a microphone there, and then we have to wrap it up. All right. There goes the microphone.
Thank you. Christina Yanzhang from the Metaverse Institute. So I wonder, with deepfake become more prevalent across many different industries, is there any solution we can prevent that from happening, especially linked with IoT-related IT infrastructure? Thank you.
Okay, half a minute. Who has the answer?
Does anyone want to give a perspective? Yeah, please.
I think the AI has great potential in development, and if we train machine learning in order to not to allow and to recognize deepfakes and other things, that would be the starting point. Everybody mentioned secure by design, add on top effectivity, because nobody programs it from scratch, so we reuse, make it clean, make your AI software, in-house software adapted in order to make your development process sort of immune of that, and learn quickly from any new vectors, any new attacks which are available as soon as they occur. So basically build some secure design laboratory for your IoT ecosystems would probably be my suggestion in that case.
All right, thank you. That's all the time we have right now. So I would like to show you a round of applause from our dear audience. Thank you for the excellent panel. Thank you to